Hello everyone and welcome to this video to showcase the newly released Midfield Football that I am using um, to play a game in my 20th Century National Football League. And this game will be between the '83 Redskins at 5-0, one of two undefeated teams in this league. 1969 Jets are 6-0. And they will be playing the 1999 Bills, who got stuck in my NFC West division just because I couldn't fit them anywhere else. They're 3-1, led by Doug Flutie. This is the Joe Theismann, John Riggins team, Art Monk. So I've taken the Midfield newly released game, and it's free. I'll put the link in the description of this video. And I've kind of tweaked it as Brian intended. So I have my own tweaks, and there's quite a few. But here's what we're looking at. I've basically created a score sheet that I can play from. And I've already had the kickoff. The Redskins have the ball in their own 32. But this is my score sheet, and this game centers around the main chart here. Now, this is not the main chart. This right here is the main chart. So it centers around a 2d6 roll between 11 and 66. You look at the lower number first on the die, and then whether it's a pass or rush. And the yellow means there's a possible yards or after catch or run after contact that you roll on here. And then there's also a defensive impact. And I play that a little bit differently, and I'll show you how I do that. And basically, I'm able to use the score sheet to create a yards after catch and yards after contact for running for each team based on the performance of the actual players and the team records. So, or the team strengths. And so my yak for passes and rushing is based on the team's offensive points and defensive points and how they match up against each other. And then I have a formula to create a yak for for instance, the Redskins yards after catch and yards after contact for running, and the same for the Bills. And then there's an individual one that I use for each player. Okay, I just paused the video to update the yak ratings for each of the Redskins players. I didn't have it in there yet. So basically, these ratings for each player are based on their actual yards receiving and yards rushing. So after you understand the game, you understand how I use this yak. What I do is if someone in a result has a yards after catch or a yards after contact, they have to roll to be able to use that chart. And they will roll on my score sheet based on their number. So John Riggins, if he gets a roll of 0 to 77, will be able to go and use whatever extra yards are allowed on the yards after contact chart. That's how I have customized the game so that it is reliant based on the actual performance of each player. And I basically use their yards gained in that year to add it to the base yak for pass and run for each team, which is determined by the matchup of offensive and defensive points. I use a 28 to 50 system, kind of like APA football, but it's a little bit more larger span of points. Anyway, these defensive and offensive points when matched up against each team, creates a unique yak number for each team against each opponent. And then the each player's ratings are added to the team's yak to come up with their role that I use in the game. So I've been able to actually have the ratings for each player come into play based on their performance, and each team's defensive and offensive ratings create their base yards after catch and yards after contact. So I like that. Each quarterback gets a rating of 7, 8, or 9 right now. The top 3 rated quarterbacks for that season. This is my 20th century NFL, so this is based on 83 season. I think Theismann was 1 or 2, so he got a 9. Doug Flutie was around average, so he gets a 7. And what I do with that number is I temper I create more incompleted passes. So I like that. I wanted a little bit more incomplete passes to get the realism that I was looking for. So when I use my modifier roll here, this red die, if it's a pass, and for Flutie, if that 10-sided die is an 8, 9, or 10, it's automatically an incomplete pass. And for Theismann, only a 0 will make it an incomplete pass. So that brings in the quarterback ratings. For my player identifier, I used the roll of the 2d10, which tells you if it's a pass or run. And the d10s will determine, for instance, if the Redskins are going to pass, it'll be a 0 to 44 on the 2d10 dice. And then the receivers are determined right here on that number. And from 45 and above, it's a run, and that'll be determined here. Anything 74 or below will be Riggins, 89 and below will be Joe Washington, and between anything that's a 99 will be a Joe Theismann run. And I put these numbers in based on what I want them to be to allocate to these different players, and based on their number of carries and how much they were used and how much they ran. So I will keep score on my score sheet, and I will give you a demo here. I'm just starting this game. Redskins are taking the ball after the initial kickoff at their own 32. So it's first down, game's just starting. I do it by possessions, and it'll be 10 possessions for each team, 5 in each half. So, for instance, what we have here is 2d10. It's an 18, so it's a pass for the Redskins. And it's an 18, so it's less than 44. It's a pass. The 2d6 indicates who it will be targeted, and that'll be Charlie Brown, since it's a 12. You read in the midfield football, per Brian's rules, you read the lower dice first. So it'll be Charlie Brown's the target. The 3 brings in your defense. And for this, the defensive ratings for each team is a 0 because they offset based on my formulas. The pass, I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, so this is also not only to check against a pass for the quarterback to see if it's incomplete or not, but this is also modifier dice to check against the defensive ratings. Neither one of these defenses will have will come into play unless this is a 0. It can go up to in the rules for midfield football, can go up to a 3. It's a 0, 1, 2, or 3, I think. I take it up to 4 or 5 based on my ratings, but neither one of these teams' defenses will have an impact. This is only a defensive impact rating, and neither one of these teams' defensive ratings are better than the offensive. So the Redskins are rated 48 on the pass offensively, and the Bills 42 defensive pass. The Redskins are rated 41 on the rush against the Bills' 34 rushing defense. So this defense is not better on the pass or run. So on my score sheet, this is referencing the Bills defense. There's 0 is the only number that will create defensive impact on the charts. And when you have a defensive impact, you look at the result, and then if it's a 0, for instance, you would go on the defense column, and this is overriding result here. And you'll see that as we play. And on when the Bills have the ball, this is representative of the Redskins defense. So I can play it straight from my score sheet. And the Redskins defense is 0 is because the Bills offense is a 46 against a 38 pass defense. And the Bills offense is a 45 run against a 41 rushing defense, which is pretty good. But in my rating system, the Bills got a 46 and 45 on pass and run, respectively. So neither team's defense is above a 0. So only when there's a 0 here, the defense impact will come in. So on this play that we're having, it is a pass, 18, and the Redskins pass up to 44% of the time. So that's an 18. 3 means there's no defense impact, and it's not an incomplete pass for Joe Theismann, who has a 9 rating. And so the result is a 12 against a pass, which is a 5-yard pickup with a chance for yards after catch. And here's where it would identify your receiver. But I use my system, being that the 18 tells me that the target, actually an 18 would be Art Monk, because it's past 15. I'm sorry. Yes, 18 would be Art Monk. I used the 2D10. So it's higher than 15, so Art Monk is the target. So I will roll to see if Monk gets the 5 yards plus the yards after catch. And a 0 to 69 will give Art Monk a chance to go to the yards after catch chart. We already know it's a 5-yard pickup, and this is a 0-0, so we'll say that's a 100. So he does not get to go on the yards after catch, but he would, because he's a good receiver, but he has to roll a 0 to 69, and that's pretty good. A lot of these are down. When I had a game the other day with another team, these results were a lot different. You can see some of these teams in my 75 replay that are poor teams. I think the Chiefs only won 3 or 4 games. You can see that their players only could roll on the yards after catch on a 34, 40, 37, and 40. So it's a big difference. These are solid teams in my 20th century. Well, the Bills are not one of the better teams, but these are mostly solid teams in this league because it's a 20th century national. These are like some of the better teams in that 20th century. So from the 70s on are only represented here. Oh, the late 60s too, I guess. So it's 5 yards for Art Monk, and I'll just note that it's a 5-yard pickup to 37 at second down. So we have a 5 on the modifier dice. It's an 82, means it's a run. Anything above 44 for the Redskins will be a run. And it's a no defense impact because it's a 5. And a 25 means that we have a dive play for 2 yards for 82. And 82 will be Joe Washington. So we have a dive play for 2 yards. Joe Washington will be able to use the yards after catch chart if we roll a 72 or below. And it's an 82, so he does not. So Joe Washington got 2 yards on the play. 1, 2, bring it up 3rd and 3. And sometimes I'll override and make it a pass play or a run play, but I'm going to let the dice decide. It's a 5, and it is a run. It's a number 74. So the defense will have no impact because it's not a 0. It's a 15. 15 is a dive for 0 yards by number 74. And 74 on my score sheet is Joe Riggins. So they did a dive play for Rigo, and he got 0 yards, bringing up 4th down. So we're going to do a punt. This is my another set of D6 over here. And what I've done is there's 2 charts in the game. There's this one, and then there's the yards after catch chart that has punts, field goals, kickoffs, and Hail Marys, 4th and short. And I've just kind of cheated by putting that chart here so I can reference this. So this is a punt with a 24. Always read the low die first. So it's a 46-yard punt. That's 4, 14, 15. Puts it on the 15. And the return for the Bills is a 15. And that's a 6-yard return. Puts it at the 21, 1st and 10 for the Bills. And so the Bills now have the ball, 1st and 10 on their own 21. We have a 99, which means it'll be a run. The Bills pass 50% of the time, so 0 to 50 will be a pass. So it's a 45 run, no defense. It's a 1. So 45 run is a slant run for 10 yards for 99, and that's Doug Flutie. So Doug Flutie just ran on that one for 10 yards. And a 1st down. So he took off running, and Doug Flutie got the first down of the game. Next play, we have a 0. That means defense will come into play. On a 41, it's a pass play, and we will be using the defense on a 13. So 13 would have been complete to 41, and that would have been targeting Antoine Smith. But the 0 means the defense comes into play, and that makes it incomplete. It's an incomplete pass because the defense came into play. That is the genius behind midfield football. As Jason Graham was saying, it's I forget the word he used. It's very elegant, he said, but it's very subtle. But these things really come into play, and when I noticed how that works, and it's nice and easy, and I've played. This is my 4th game with it. It's hitting home with me, and it's like, yeah, this is pretty good. It's not just totally abstract, and that's why I took the effort to bring in my own yak, yards after catch, yards after contact for running, and my own player ratings, so I can personalize it for each team and player. All right, well, let's see how the Bills do on this drive. So what did we have just happen? Incomplete pass because of the defense. 2nd down. 2nd and 10. It's a 1. It's a run. Defense will not play because it's not a 0. And it's a 26. It's a run for Antoine Smith. And it's a 26. So we'll look at the run column. And we're not going to pay attention to the player assignment because I make my own with the assignment of the D10 on my score sheet. So it's a 3-yard run for Antoine Smith. And that brings up 3rd down and 7, and we will make this a pass, so I won't even use those. It's going to be a pass play, and it's a 1, so no defense, and it's a 12. 12 on a pass is a wide receiver screen 5 yards with a chance for yards after catch. Now, since I didn't use my D10, I will go ahead and use the wide receiver, Eric Moulds. And his yards after catch number is a 76, and that's very good. So a 0 to 76 means he gets to use the yards after catch, and he does. And that's where a poorer player whose rating is like in the 30s or 40s will not get the yards after catch as much. And that's what I like about it. And I use basically my rating system is adding a number of like integer of 1 for every 100 yards of receiving yards to the yak. So he basically had 1,000 yards, so he gets a 10 added to the base yak for the team. And this yak will change with each team they play based on the offensive and defensive points for each team against their opponent. So the initial catch was a 5-yard pickup, and now we're going to roll for Eric Molds on the yak chart, and it's 24. He'll get 3 more yards. So that's an 8-yard pickup for Molds, and that'll be a first down on the completion to Eric Molds for 8 yards. So on 42, first down. We have a 56. It's a run play, no defense because it's a 4-33 run play, and the runner is 56. That's Jonathan Linton. On 33, we look at the rushing column. It's a sweep for -3. Brings up second down. We have a 71, so it's a rushing play for Antoine Smith. No defense, and it's a 24. It's a counter for 2 yards. Bringing up third down and long, 4, 9, 11. So it's going to be a pass play. I'm going to override here. Now it's an 8. And so this brings in the quarterback's ratings for me because I didn't have enough incomplete passes. So he did not roll on the modifier dice, a 0 to 7, the same dice I use for the defensive impact. An 8 or 9 or 0 means it's incomplete for Doug Flutie. So I may not use the 0 for the quarterbacks on that. Maybe just an 8 or 9 is incomplete. But anyway, that overrides for me in the way I play it. So Doug Flutie gets an incomplete pass on that because of his rating of a 7. Now, Joe Theismann would need only a 0 to make it an incomplete pass. I guess I do use the 0. And so that shows the power of the quarterbacks. It brings up fourth down and a punt. And a 16 on the punt. And that's 40 yards. 10, 19-yard line. And the return is a 56. And that's a fair catch. Redskins will take over on their 19, first and 10. I'll do just a couple more plays. See if something happens. But hopefully you get the gist of it, of how I have customized this midfield football game by Brian. And so it's very customizable, which is what Brian wanted, and it's true. And you can kind of go any direction you want with it, and it makes it powerful, if you ask me. So it's a 50. The Redskins pass only 44% of the time, so it's a run, John Riggins. No defense involved. It's a 12, and that's a slant for 3 yards for Riggo. Second down. 0, defense will come into play on a 98, which is a run by Otis Wansley. And that's a 22 with defense impact. Now, defense doesn't always impact if it's blank for every team. So 22 on a rush is a fumble. And if I roll a 10, it's a fumble recovery for TD. 2d6 roll, and it's a 9. So it's just a fumble. And the fumble was by Otis Wansley. And it's, I guess, always treated as a loss of possession to the other team. We will roll on the fumble right here, 15, Line of scrimmage -2. The Bills take over. And that's the way I understand it, is that fumbles are always lost. If that's not right, somebody should let me know, because I did not read all the rules. I basically learned this game from watching Jason Graham play. So that's a fumble, turnover to the Bills, and the Bills have the ball. 1st and 10 on the Redskins 20. We have a 364. It's a run. It's a run to Jonathan Litton with a 46, no defense. So we're going to look right here, 11 yards. And if defense had played, you'd -6. It would be a 5-yard pickup in that case. But no defense on this one. So it's 11 yards for Clinton. And that'll give him 8 yards for the game after 2 carries. And that's an 11-yard pickup. 1st and goal at the 9. We have an 8 on the modifier die. And it's a run, so there's no defense. It's a run to Antoine Smith, 13. It's a draw for -2. So he loses 2 yards. Brings it back to the 11, 2nd down, and goal. We have a 6 on a run, no defense. It's a run by Antoine Smith on a 34. That's an off tackle for 4 yards with a chance for yards after catch. For Antoine Smith, he needs a 64 or less, and he does get it. So he gets to run, or he gets to roll on the yards after contact. He already has 4, and he gets to add 40. So that's a touchdown run. Antoine Smith, 11 yards, and a TD. Extra point, and the only extra point on the chart provided that's a miss is snake eyes, and it is good. You can also rate your kickers with a +0, +1, +2, or +3 like Jason Graham does, and that'll weigh it on the chart a little bit more for field goals and extra points and kickoffs. So that's 7 points on the second possession for the Bills, and they have a 7-0 lead after the first quarter. I'll stop it here. Thanks for watching.